Good afternoon, class. This is Chapter 7 on energy balance and weight control. So we are going to be talking about overweight and obesity, causes of them, complications and side effects of them, treatment for them, weight loss strategies, and then finally we're going to be talking about underweight. So, weight management. Weight management is maintaining body weight in a healthy range by preventing gradual weight gain over time and losing weight if overweight. And as people get older, especially beyond about age 30, the general trend for most people is weight gain. And if you're age 30 and potentially you're going to live to age 80, that's 50 years of life where you need to really be watching out for weight gain. I'm not saying it's not important earlier in life, but your metabolism slows down, and so this is where it's more common. Weight gain is really an epidemic, and the overweight and obesity that results is an epidemic. An epidemic is a disease or condition that attacks many people at the same time. Usually epidemics are infectious, like malaria or the flu or something like that. But this is an epidemic. People are very, very, very sick. It has really, really increased the prevalence rates of it, and it is significantly affecting our population. So I'm going to try to link to this video really quick. Okay, so this is a CDC video on overweight trends, and you can see that as the years go by, at the top, the colors are changing, and the colors represent how many people are overweight. So this is a BMI over 30. So this would actually include people who are obese as well, because anybody with BMI over 30, could fall into the obesity range. So obesity trends. So this is, sorry, I misspoke. This is obesity trends. BMI over 30 is obesity. So obesity rates. So you see new colors coming up. This red color. And notice where this is happening. It is happening everywhere, hence the epidemic. But specifically, there are some regions of our country where it's happening more than others. So we're going to go back. Okay, so I believe I got us back. We watched that video. It was obesity rates. So it was not overweight rates. It was obesity. I was misreading the title there. This is another picture with a more current year updated. So on this picture, this goes up to 2012, and there are prevalence rates over 35% in some of the states. Very, very sad. What is coming for us? Well, I think we're in trouble. Currently, this epidemic affects about 1.5 billion adults and 43 million children. There is some research saying that the obesity rates have slightly declined, at least between 2009 and 10 versus 2003 till 2008. So potentially it's slowing down, but it's still so prevalent with billions of people affected. All right, so when we eat too much, when we have excess calories, what do we do with them? We store them. And where do we store them? I hope you guys can remember, but we store them two places. We can store them in our liver and muscles as glycogen, or we can store them as fat. And if you have too many calories in excess, remember you only store so much glycogen, so those calories will go to fat. In some circumstances, that can lead to a calorie imbalance. So in this middle picture, this person is consuming more calories than they are expending. they're eating 4,000 and they're only expending 2,000 because they're just sitting there. So the result is this person stores fat. You can see this person has gained some weight. In this bottom picture, the person is eating, and perhaps maybe he's a little overweight, but then he goes and exercises, and he burns 1,000 extra calories. So his calorie expenditure is greater than his calorie intake, and that results in weight loss. On the very top is calorie balance. And so this is when somebody eats the same amount that they expend, and that person would maintain weight. Energy intake. So obviously we get our energy from foods that we eat, and we do have a little bit of a discrepancy between our biological, physiological need to consume food versus our desire to consume food. I mean, I can think of the last things that I ate, and I did not eat them out of physiological hunger. I ate them because I knew they were going to taste good, and that was going to make me happy, or at least so I thought. So this kind of desire to consume food has really almost overrun our lives, and it's contributed significantly to overconsumption, in addition to many environmental factors, such as supersized portions, fast food restaurants, the social aspect of foods in vending machines, the increased proportion of fat, sugar, and salt in foods, which makes them taste good. So food is measured in calories, and calories can be used as energy in the human body. The number of calories in a food can be actually measured by a device called a BOM calorimeter, which is here. And in this device, they put a small sample of food, and that food is in a chamber. Around that chamber is water. So all this blue part is water. And then right here, you have a thermometer. And so then the food is actually ignited. You have the ignite wand, I could say over here. The food is ignited, and the heat generated by burning that food raises the temperature of that chamber and then raises the temperature of the water, and we can measure the difference in the temperature change. So a calorie is really a measurement of how much burning of food can change the temperature of water. So how many calories in fat, protein, carbs, and alcohol? Remember, fat has 9, protein and carbs have 4, and alcohol has 7. So if we think about that, we could say that fat is making that water hotter than carbs and protein, and alcohol is kind of in the middle. Energy output. So we do get our energy in from the foods that we eat and drink, but how do we expend and get rid of and use this energy? There are 4 components, and some of them contribute much more than others. They're represented by these gram blocks here. And the largest one is basal metabolism. Next, physical activity. Third, thermic effect of food. And then last, adaptive thermogenesis. So we are going to talk about all of these on the slides coming up. Basal metabolic rate, which is sometimes referred to or abbreviated, I'm just going to write this here. Well, I can just circle it, BMR. So if you see BMR, it is basal metabolic rate. And this is the minimum amount of calories used by our body to keep a resting body awake and alive, to keep a resting awake body alive. So these are calories used to allow our heart to beat, allow our lungs to respirate, to supply fuel for our liver, our kidneys, and our brain. This does not include physical activity. This does not include breaking down foods that we eat. However, this is the largest contributor of our energy output, and that's just energy needed to sustain life. Different factors can affect this, and I have lean body mass in red, because lean body mass, or your muscle mass, is what can affect this the most. At higher levels of lean body mass or muscle, your basal metabolic rate is increased. At lower levels of lean body mass, your basal metabolic rate is decreased. There are additional factors that I have listed here. Body surface area. So, for example, a tall person has a larger body surface and their basal metabolic rate will be higher. Males tend to have more lean body mass, hence their BMRs are higher. Body temperature, whether you have a fever or it's cold, can affect basal metabolic rate. Stress releases the hormone norepinephrine, and that can affect your basal metabolic rate. Pregnancy and tobacco and caffeine can suppress your diet, and they're not recommended to use to control weight. Extreme dieting is here in blue, and extreme dieting can actually, very scientific term, mess with your basal metabolic rate or throw off your basal metabolic weight. Because when you diet, you lose weight, and that can actually slow your BMR down, which is not what you want. So yo-yo dieting can affect your basal metabolic rate. Physical activity. So physical activity is going to be different for everybody. The more active you are, the higher percentage of your output this is going to account for. Somebody who's sedentary is going to have a much lower output. In the United States, unfortunately, we have become more and more inactive. Our jobs, most of them, are not physically demanding. Our leisure time is spent in front of the TV. Many people have cars and access to public transportation, so they're not walking as far. And this has really increased the percent of our calories that are used as towards physical activity. How could you increase physical activity? So many ways. I'm just going to list some simple ones, and then you can think of some on your own. But you could park far away. You could take the stairs. You can walk or ride your bike to school or to work. I work over by Sierra Vista Hospital in a dialysis center part-time, and I also teach at Cal Poly. And when I'm at the dialysis center, I just walk to Cal Poly. It's about 3/4 of a mile to one of my classrooms and a mile to my office. So by the end of the day, when I've walked between my classrooms and my office and around campus, I usually end up walking 3 to 4 miles. And it doesn't feel like it was exercise. It doesn't feel like it took too much time because it was just spread throughout my day. So walking is really great. Go to the park, walk your dog, go to the beach, walk on the pier. If it is raining and cold and dark outside, go to the mall. I know San Luis doesn't really have a great indoor mall, but other cities do, and those are great places to go. Or go to a big store like Target or Best Buy or Costco or Home Depot. If you really want to get exercise, walk up and down the aisles. I have many patients who actually go to Walmart and they walk all the aisles, and they feel safe there because there's lights, there's people, there's bathrooms, there's food if they need it, and it's in a nice temperature controlled environment. So if it's too yucky outside to exercise, that doesn't give you an excuse. There are places you can go. Go to the gym, but you don't have to have a gym membership. That's kind of my point. You don't have to have an expensive gym membership to work out or to get active. Thermic effect of food. So this is the energy the body actually uses to digest and absorb foods. Remember, digestion and absorption is quite a complicated process, and there's many factors involved. So this sorry, let's say this again. This thermic effect depends on which food you eat. So some foods require more energy to be expended to process and metabolize them than others. So for example, high protein foods will require 20 to 30% of the calories just to be to use that food for metabolism. So example is if you're eating a 100 calorie piece of chicken breast, this is a pretty small chicken breast, 30% of those calories could be used just for you to break down, absorb, and digest that chicken breast in your body. So really, the only calories that you're getting for energy or to use for other things are 70 calories. With fats, this is 0 to 3%. So what does that mean? That means our body is really, really good at processing and storing fats, and it doesn't take our body a lot of energy to store and process fats. So that's why fatty foods can contribute to weight gain, because you're going to get almost all the calories from them. Alcohol is about 20%, so 20% of the calories from alcohol are going to be used just for you to metabolize it. And this is called the thermic effect because your body temperature will actually heat up slightly after a meal, and you might feel kind of warm or hot. Some foods have negative thermic effect, meaning they take more calories to digest and absorb them than they provide as calories. And a really good example of that is celery. So this girl is eating celery, and by eating the celery, she's actually burning calories. So celery is a really good negative calorie snack. Just don't dip it in ranch, which is full of calories. Thermogenesis. So this is the fourth factor contributing to our energy output, and this will vary between individuals as well. This factor contributes a relatively small amount towards our energy output, and this factor becomes significant when we are fidgeting, consciously or unconsciously. You know, some people maybe like tap their legs or tap their feet, or I don't know, twitch their head or twiddle their thumbs. Every calorie counts. And then shaking, shivering when cold. So you go outside, your body shivers, that body's trying to warm you up. Measuring energy expenditure. So how do we measure how many calories we are using? There is direct calorimetry and indirect calorimetry, and then there are many equations that we can use to estimate. Direct calorimetry is not done very often because it is expensive and complex. I do not know of anywhere locally that uses direct calorimetry. However, if you wanted to do this, you could put a person in an insulated chamber or room, and that chamber or room is surrounded by water, and then you would measure the temperature change of the surrounding water. So it's almost like a bomb calorimeter for people, but obviously you're not going to ignite them. So you could see why it's kind of expensive and complicated. Indirect calorimetry is used pretty often, and many universities and hospitals do have a indirect calorimeter. For example, Cal Poly has one. They have one in the nutrition department as well as they have one in the rec center. And we're going to talk about that on the next slides. And then you can estimate how many calories somebody might be burning based on their height, their weight, their physical activity level, their age, and their gender. So indirect calorimetry. In this picture, you can see that this man is exercising. He is hooked up to a respirator device that actually is measuring his oxygen consumption and his CO2 output, and his nose is plugged so that none of the gases escape. So indirect calorimetry measures these respiratory gases and then plugs them into an equation to calculate your metabolic rate. These can be mounted on carts, such as a metabolic cart, and rolled around like to a hospital patient. These can actually be in backpacks, so you could wear one of these while you're exercising to see how many calories you're burning while you're exercising. Or these can be, permanent devices in lab rooms or mounted to a wall. Estimating your energy needs. So if you do not have a direct calorimeter or an indirect calorimeter, there are many equations you can use to estimate needs. And Where I worked at local hospitals, both the Royal Grande and Twin Cities Hospital in Templeton, we did not have calorimeters or indirect calorimeters, and so I would estimate the energy needs of my patients. And I would use an equation kind of similar to this, slightly different for hospitalized patients, but kind of similar to this. So there is a different equation for men and women, and you use age in years, physical activity level, there's reference values for how active you are, weight in kilos, and height in meters. So you can, well, I'm going to pause. I'm going to go back to that really quick. So I said there are some activity levels, some reference ones you can use. If somebody is sedentary, they would have an activity level of 1, meaning their activity isn't contributing to their estimated calorie needs. If they're walking but less than 2 miles a day, they get like 1.1. If they're walking 7 miles a day, they get around 1.25. If they're walking 17 miles a day, I don't know too many people who do that, but if they're burning the amount of calories similar to that, they get about 1.45 to 1.5, and it could increase, etc. So you don't have to memorize those. I just thought they might be interesting for you to know, because if you're exercising a lot, that could increase part of your energy needs about 1.5 times. So okay. There are other estimates you can use. This comes from myplate.gov, and you could look at your age, your gender, and how active you are. Here they only have sedentary to active, so you could just imagine what's in the middle. This is okay, but I don't really like this because I think that people are so different, and for a sedentary female, you need the same calories all the way from age 14 to 50. That just doesn't really seem right to me. At least for an active female, they're kind of changing a little bit, but there's just some things here where it's like, really, all 14 to 50-year-old sedentary females need exactly the same amount of calories? Like, what about tall females? What about short females? Does that matter? And the truth is, yes, it does matter. So these tables are okay, but they're not perfect. Assessing healthy weight. So here you can see people shown at different BMI levels, and you can see that as the BMI increases, kind of their body fat tends to go up. And BMI is not perfect to use. We're going to talk about that coming up, but it is still used. And BMI can be calculated by taking a person's height in meters squared and dividing it by weight in kilograms. And you can compare it to charts to see where that person is compared to average. This is a BMI chart. So say you didn't have a calculator, you could find your height and your weight. I'll do mine because, again, I believe in transparency, but I am about 5'6" on a good day, and I weigh about 135 pounds. So I'm just going to go in the middle of this. And I'm going to draw this line down, 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 down. And I get to right here. So my line is between 21 and 23. So I'm going to just say, hey, my BMI is probably right around 22. We could calculate BMI if we wanted. And I have an example here. This person weighs a little less than me. Perhaps this was me in a few years back when I first thought of these examples, but it's not me now. So what we can do is we have to convert height to meters squared, and we have to convert weight to kilograms. So those are the first steps. 1 inch equals 2.54 centimeters, and 100 centimeters equals a meter. So somebody who is 5'6" is 66 inches, because remember there is 12 inches per foot. So you get 60 inches coming from those first 5 feet, and then 6 more inches because they are 5'6". And then you can multiply those inches by centimeters to convert to centimeters. So if you did that, what you would get is 160 7.6 centimeters. Sorry about my writing. Yes, so then what would we do? Then we are going to convert our weight to kilograms. So 1 pound equals 2.2 kilos. So we divide 130 pounds by 2.2 kilos, and we are going to get, I'm seeing if this will work. No, that did not work. So we're going to get 59 kilograms. So we have the height in centimeters, the weight in kilograms, but we need the height actually in meters squared. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to convert centimeters to meter. And I can do this by moving the decimal point 2 places, because we know that there are 100 centimeters per meter. So now I have 1.67 meters. And if I square this, so I'm just going to put meters squared, and you do this with your calculator, you get, what do you get? 2.8. So I like to do all the math before I put this thing together. So now I have meters squared, and I know my kilogram weight, and so I can divide my kilograms by this 2.8. And when I do that, I get a BMI of about 21. It's okay if it's a little bit off, but about 21. Mine happens to be 21.07. And so this person's BMI would be here in the green range, and green means healthy weight. So that's good. Weight and health risk. Why do we even care about people's weight? Well, increased weight, more specifically increased fat, but increased weight, I'm really thinking increased fat here, leads to so many complications. So increased surgical risk. These people will need more anesthesia, as well as they're at higher risk for wounds. They have decreased immune function. Pulmonary diseases, that's lung disease, and sleep disorders. They can get sleep apnea because this excess weight can actually kind of compress their lungs and make it difficult for them to breathe. Type 2 diabetes, prevalence is higher in obese and overweight people. High blood pressure, increased blood vessels in a larger person can lead to increased blood volume and increased resistance to blood flow related to hormones that are increased by fat cells. Cardiovascular disease, heart and vascular disease, bone and joint disorders such as gout or arthritis. If you're putting weight on those joints and they're not used to that, it could wear down faster. Gallstones, because increased cholesterol level. Skin disorders, you can have trapping and moisture of microorganisms. So trapping of moisture and microorganisms between skin folds. Yeah. Some people can use like baby powder or drying agents to try to help with that. Cancer, higher risk for certain cancers. Early onset puberty in young girls, but also in young males. Pregnancy risk, more risk for fetal and maternal death. Vision problems, cataracts or other eye disorders are more common. Reduced physical agility, premature death, liver problems, liver disease, fatty liver disease, erectile dysfunction, and increased infections. So, if there is a way to prevent weight gain, prevent overweight, and prevent obesity, we should do it. Okay, how do we measure body fat? So BMI does not necessarily indicate body fat, and the reason for that is because BMI includes all weight. It includes, your weight from your muscles, your weight from your fat, your weight from your bones, your weight from your blood, your weight from your organs, your weight from your hair, your weight from your skin. It includes everything. So it doesn't tell us how much fat is included. That's one of the reasons that BMI is bad or not perfect. I shouldn't say bad, I should say not perfect. But often people who are very muscular end up with a BMI that puts them in the overweight or obese range. And clearly those people are not overweight or obese. It's just that their muscle is so dense and it weighs so much. It's not that they have excess fat or that they're unhealthy. So measuring body fat, what is considered healthy? Men 11 to 20%, women 16 to 30%. For men, if they are over 24, and for women, if they are over 37, they are considered obese. How do we do this? So multiple different ways. We do need the body weight and the body volume. We can do underwater weighing. This is the most accurate, but a person does have to be submerged completely in water, and there are specific mathematical formulas that they can use. This also requires a technician to administer it. You can do underwater weighing, where you just measure the amount of water that is displaced when the person is in there. You can use a bod pod, which you're going to see coming up, skin fold thickness, a bioelectrical impedance machine, and a DEXA scan. And a DEXA scan is an X-ray type scan that has pretty minimal radiation, about as much radiation as one chest X-ray. Takes about 5 to 20 minutes. And will scan your body and can differentiate fat, fat-free soft tissues, and bone. And so if you do a DEXA scan, you can determine what percent of your body is muscle. So it's very accurate for measuring body fat. The bod pod. So this is a bod pod, and in the bod pod, a person goes in, the pod is closed, and air is displaced to measure their body volume. So you measure the space that the person takes up in the bod pod, and then you can look at their body density, which is their weight over their body volume, and you can calculate their percent body fat. Measuring skin folds. So you can use a device called a caliper to pinch skin folds or do a pinch test of skin folds. And these skin folds are done many different places on the body. There's tricep skin folds, subscapular skin folds, which are on the back. There's a skin fold that's, I like to call it in the spare tire region, but it's kind of on the side of your waist. It's just above your hip bone. So you can measure skin folds all around the body and then plug these into equations, as well as measurements of like arm circumference and calf circumference. And you can calculate or estimate what percent of the body is muscle versus fat. There are some limitations if the person is dehydrated, if the person is elderly, their skin might not be as elastic, etc. And it also depends on the skill of the measurer. Bioelectrical impedance machine. So this particular machine is a handheld device. They also have devices that you step on and the current runs through your legs, up and down through your legs. So this device sends a very low energy current through your body. And in this picture, that current's running through this person's hands. And different tissues in our body are more or less resistant to electrical flow. So for example, adipose or fat tissue resists electrical flow more than lean tissue. And so the more fat you have, the greater electrical resistance this machine will encounter. It then calculates that and converts it to approximate measures of body fat. Does the location of fat matter? What do you guys think? I hope you think yes, it does matter. So yes is the answer. So we have two descriptions to describe where people store their body fat. The first is android and the second is gynoid. Android I think of as like apple shape, and apples are round. So this person has a lot of abdominal body fat. And abdominal fat is actually pretty harmful. Fat released from abdominal cells goes directly to the liver. It can travel through the portal vein, and it can interfere with the liver's ability to use insulin and can negatively affect lipoprotein. These fat cells that are surrounding the organs in android obesity are not just storage fat cells, they also can release hormones. and they can release peptides called adipokines, and these are involved in energy regulation. Also, the cells can become dysfunctional if they're filled with excess fat, and this can cause inflammation, insulin resistance, and eventually chronic disease. So, an android shape is diagnosed as a waist over 40 inches in men and 35 for women. A gynoid shape is a more pear-shaped distribution of fat. And so most of this fat is on the hips and the thighs. And typically women are more pear-shaped than men. And part of this has to do with the estrogen and progesterone hormones that women release. Estrogen and progesterone hormones favor the accumulation of fat in a gynoid pattern. Testosterone favors the accumulation of fat in an android pattern. And gynoid type fat distributions are not associated with chronic disease. Why are so many people obese? I almost crossed this out to say, why are most people obese? Why is everybody obese? Because this is just, it really is an epidemic. Over 35% of the population in some areas. It's just really getting out of control. If you count overweight and obese, it's 60 to 70% of the population, depending on what numbers you look at and where. It's insane. It is fixable. It is controllable. It's not easy though. So why do we get to where we are? So cultural, economic, social factors. I think of eating out, money, having enough money, having cheap foods available. Think of the dollar menu at McDonald's or Taco Bell. Like, how many calories can you get for $1? I live by a Burger King, and I look at their ads all the time as I walk by, and you can get like a double cheeseburger, 2 double cheeseburgers, 2 fries, and 2 drinks for like $6. It's so many calories. They're not healthy calories though. Global food systems, this is allowing us to get any food anytime from wherever it came from. We no longer have to eat foods that are in season. We can eat really whatever we want anytime we want if we can afford them. Foods are cheaper just because advances technologically as well as transportation. Genetics do play a role. We're going to talk about that coming up, but obese parents are more likely to have children who develop obesity than non-obese parents. And then environmental factors we're going to talk about coming up. So more reasons: age, menopause, hormone shifts, and metabolism slows down. Gender: females are supposed to have more body fat than males just because we need that extra body fat for child rearing and childbearing. Positive energy balance, eating more than we need to. Composition of diet. I said our diets are loaded in sugar, salt, and fat. Sedentary lifestyles, low basal metabolism. Maybe somebody has a thyroid problem or has been yo-yo dieting. Thermic effect of food. We said that protein foods have a pretty high thermic effect, up to 30% of the calories, but fatty foods have a really low thermic effect, and people are eating too many fatty foods. Increased hunger sensations, or maybe, making a mistake thinking you're hungry when really you're just craving something. Ratio of fat to lean tissue. So as fat goes up and lean tissue goes down, your metabolic rate slows down. Social and behavioral factors. We're going to talk about this coming up, but eating in front of the TV, excessive alcohol, our busy lifestyles. Ethnic factors. Certain cultures, certain ethnicities may value, a different body figure than others, and may value somebody who is more overweight than others. Childbearing, women are supposed to gain a certain amount during pregnancy. Most women maintain, what's recommended is, what's average is 2 pounds kept after each childbirth. So more childbirths, more pounds. However, 50% of women are exceeding that 2 pounds. So that's a lot of women who are gaining much more than 2 pounds every childbirth, and they're not losing it. And then where is this happening? Hopefully you caught this on some of the maps we watched, but this is happening in the South and the Midwest. It's happening everywhere, but you do see higher rates there. So this is looking at genetics a little bit and looking at twin studies. And so asking kind of the question, is it nature, which is genetics, or is it nurture? And in cases when twins have been separated and brought up by different parents, meaning having different nurture, it still shows that they gain the same amount of weight. So in that situation, the genetic role is pretty strong. And it's actually thought that genes can account for about 70% of weight differences. However, do genes change that quickly? Well, yes and no. So it's thought that we have inherited some genes that do put us at risk of obesity, especially with our changing environment. So one of these genes is called the thrifty gene. And the thrifty gene was actually a survival mechanism. And the thrifty gene allowed us to live in an environment where food could be scarce at times. And because of that, we would store fat very readily anytime we got food. And this would help protect us against starvation. However, now we don't have food scarcities for the most part in the United States. I know there are many people with food insecurity, but we do have, as a country, an abundance of food. And so we don't need our bodies to hold on to fat that tight and our metabolic rates to kind of slow down, but they still do. Other genetic possibilities, it is possible for nutrients to modify genes and modify genetic expression, and even modify genetic function. And so it's possible that something in the diets themselves are triggering perhaps an enhanced expression of some sort of genes that are contributing to obesity. Fat cell development. So fat cells are, to put it scientifically, little stinkers. Fat cells are stinkers because they can grow up to 50 times their size. They can expand. You can fill them with fat. When you lose weight, fat cells will shrink, but they're still there. So the more fat you gain, if you were to fill all your fat cells up, your body would just make more fat cells. And then the more fat cells you have, the more at risk you are for gaining weight later, because it's like a storage unit full of garages just ready to park cars of fat in. They never go away. So the more fat you gain, the more fat you have. And then this fat can also be deposited around the organs like the heart and the liver. The fat can secrete hormones. It can cause insulin resistance and just very, very harmful. Have you ever heard of the set point theory? So we're going to talk about it. The set point theory of weight maintenance says that humans have a genetically predetermined body weight or body fat content, and our body closely regulates it. Our body wants to be at this set point. And so we make physiological changes to maintain this. So here's a picture of the set point. So I'm going to explain this. So the set point is a theory. It's not proven, but this is a theory some people believe about weight and weight gain and weight loss. And it says that our body wants to maintain a certain weight. I just said that. However, if we lose weight, what happens with our body is our body says, no, I'm happy at this weight. I'm going to slow my metabolism down so that I go back to this weight that I'm happy at, my set point. And so metabolism slows down. So then this person goes back to the weight that they were. However, now they've got this slowed down metabolism, but they're eating the same as they always did. So they gain weight. And then this person says, oh, I'm not happy. I don't feel good. I'm going to try to lose weight. So they lose weight, but body says, no, I want to go back to where I was. I liked that. So body goes back. and metabolism has slowed down again, and then person eats the same amount that they always ate, they gain even more weight. So this is kind of this yo-yo dieting thing, where weight goes up and down, but the downs are lower and the ups are higher. And the ups get higher and higher every time. And part of this is because when you lose weight, your basal metabolic rate can slow down. And when you lose weight, it is possible to lose some of that weight, and it's very likely actually that you're going to lose some of that weight as lean tissue. And if you don't have lean tissue, that slows down your metabolism. So now you're this, skinny person who doesn't have as much muscle, and you think, oh, I've lost all this weight. Okay, good. Well, even if you're eating, less calories, you've got less muscle to burn those calories. So you're going to gain weight quicker. And it's like this vicious cycle. All right, so we talked about genetics. We talked about our body's set point as reasons. What about nurture? So nurture is how we grew up, our environment, our parents, our roommates, our siblings, and then later in life, our spouse. So is obesity a learned behavior? Is poor eating or unhealthy eating a learned behavior? And this is the question. If we look at our gene pool in general, it has not changed significantly in the last 50 years, but our obesity rates have. So even though certain genes might be more expressed than others, our actual genetic code hasn't changed much. So then it must be something that we're doing, behavior or social factor. And this is pretty true. They do see some science with this. So couples, boyfriend, girlfriend, husband and wife, generally they eat the same. Why? First of all, it's a pain in the butt to cook 2 meals or to go to 2 different restaurants, or to, shop at different grocery stores. It's a lot easier to just eat the same thing. Second of all, they probably like each other. They probably met each other because they had some things in common, Children, poor children are, really, really high risk for obesity, can't do anything about it. It's their parents who decide. So whatever that parent buys and prepares for that child is what that child eats. And there have been so many times I've been in line at the grocery store and literally, torn between crying, saying something, and just keeping my mouth shut because I would see overweight children and carts just full of unhealthy processed foods. And it really is a tricky situation because I do believe in moderation. And, my son has eaten pizza and cupcakes, and cookies and that sort of thing. But he's had them, at a birthday party or special occasion. And it's not part of our normal diet. It's not what I fill up my grocery cart with. I do realize these processed foods are cheaper. These people, they might not have access to buy other foods. They might not have cooking facilities to buy other foods. They might not have knowledge to cook other foods. And so I know there's a lot of barriers besides just a parent intentionally buying something unhealthy. And so I never, ever, ever say anything. It's not my place. But I feel sad for these children, because they deserve better. They deserve the best future that you can give them. And when you're feeding your child unhealthy foods for whatever reason it is, it's sad and it should be different. And then inactivity loves inactivity. So again, with partners or couples, if one is active, more likely that the other one is active. If one is inactive, more likely than the other one is inactive. Poverty and obesity. So yes, I talked about money. Money is a huge factor. Healthy food is not more expensive. However, if you want healthy food to be as convenient and fast as unhealthy food, yes, it is more expensive. If you have the time to cut, rinse, wash, cook, prepare, separate, healthy foods, you can save money cooking healthy. You can buy in bulk. You can buy things like dried beans, potatoes, apples, dried whole grains, whole wheat bread, fruits and vegetables at farmers markets or frozen even, and you can cook and prepare foods. But if you want to, say, go buy a pre-made salad because you don't have enough time to go home, wash your lettuce, cut your carrots, cut your avocado, cut your tomato, and make yourself a salad, that pre-made salad is probably going to cost you somewhere between $5 to $10. If you want to get a pre-made hamburger, you can get it for $1. So I do not think that eating healthier is more expensive, but I do think that eating healthier and having it be as fast and convenient and requiring as little prep time as some of these unhealthy foods is more expensive. So if people can cook at home, cook in bulk, or maybe take one day of the week, like Saturday or Sunday, to kind of cut up some fresh veggies, cut up some fresh fruits, put them in the fridge, maybe get some meals together, cook a big pot of chili or homemade soup, or maybe make some burritos, and freeze some of them. Or make some pasta and divide it up into little packets. So if people do take the time to meal prep, then their meal is easy and inexpensive, and they could just grab it as they're going out the door. But if you don't have that time or take that time, unhealthy food is cheaper. Food deserts. Food deserts are places where there are not access to good foods. There's not grocery stores. There's not farmers markets. There's not Vons or Whole Foods or Ralph's or Albertsons. There's maybe 7-Eleven and the gas station, and maybe there's not even that. And so people have to travel very far to get food, and the food that's available close to them is usually junk. And so that can contribute to obesity. Okay, what are some moderate and reasonable ways to treat obesity? We're going to talk about these coming up, but so many ways to treat obesity. And, honestly, even if somebody doesn't treat obesity, meaning they don't lose weight, if they just stop gaining weight, that is a huge success, because they can stop gaining weight and they can increase their fitness. And in fact, sometimes when people are trying to lose weight, they don't see a ton of weight gain, and that's because, or weight loss, and that's because they're actually gaining muscle, which is more dense than fat. So as they're losing fat, they're gaining muscle. But this is good in the long run because muscle will increase their metabolic rate. Okay, treatment. Get rid of these environmental influences. So the atmosphere, where are you eating your food? Are you sitting on the couch? This guy's got like a giant box of something there, a giant purple soda, a giant bag of chips. The serving sizes are way too big. He's sitting there playing a video game. There's no activity. The food is very accessible. He can just grab it and eat it. He doesn't even have to think about it. And he's got a couple choices. The packages are huge, so he's hopefully not going to run out of that food, but he's definitely not going to get to a point where he has a small little bag of chips, and when he eats them all, they're gone. Same with the soda. That's a lot of soda. But changing, the environment is important. And I also think of the environment as your home environment. We said this couch, but your environment can be your refrigerator, your freezer, your pantry. What's in that freezer? What's in that refrigerator? What's in your pantry? Your dishes. What size are they? Your cups. What size are they? Do you have 4-ounce cups, 8-ounce cups, or do you have like 32-ounce cups? So all these things can help. Behavior modification. Oh, goodness, behavior modification. So choosing activities, carefully, making small goals, stress reduction, resting, improving self-esteem, attitude, support groups, get a buddy or join a challenge or get a friend, get like a exercise partner. Don't shop when you're hungry. You'll want to buy everything. I know it's happened to you. Exercise while watching TV. So during the commercials, do some jumping jacks or sit-ups or push-ups, or while it's on, lay down and stretch. I have an elliptical machine, and I don't know, I think maybe you might think, oh, that's expensive. I can't afford to buy an elliptical. But I made a choice actually in 2008, so 9 years ago, And I used to go to a gym. I used to have a gym membership. It wasn't expensive. It was, cheap gym, maybe like $20, $30, $40 a month, not bad. But the only thing I would do at the gym was I would do the elliptical. So I saved some money and I bought my own elliptical. And I have my elliptical right in front of the TV. So if I feel like watching a show, I can get on the elliptical, I can watch my show, and I can burn some calories. And it is fantastic. It's really good for winter or cold nights when you can't go outside. When you don't feel like driving to the gym, I can wear whatever outfit I want. Nobody sees me. I can get water. And that investment has totally paid off. The elliptical has lasted 9 years. It was not a fancy elliptical. It was not top of the line at all. It was low to medium of the line. But I haven't paid for a gym membership ever since. And between being able to walk in our beautiful environment, using the elliptical, and doing some rock climbing, I'm fine. So maybe think about an investment you want to make. Shopping. What should you do when you shop? You should plan. You should make a list. That way you're in and out of the grocery store. You don't get distracted by everything. Also, I love Costco, but what happens when you go to Costco? They've got free samples. And are you going to eat the free samples and then say, oh, I'm so full, I'm not going to make that chicken that I just bought? No, you're going to go home and make the chicken anyways. So, just be mindful. Rewards. Rewards should not be food-based. Rewards should be other things like, hey, if I eat healthy all week, I'm going to take myself and get a pedicure. Or if I lose 5 pounds this month, I'm going to buy a new pair of pants, or I'm going to go see a movie, or I'm going to buy a new pair of shoes. Something like that. Portion control, using these smaller plates can help. Self-monitoring, keeping food journals, very, very, very effective, or using an app. Avoiding ready-to-eat foods because it's easy to cook them. You just eat the whole thing and it's too fast. Eating low-calorie snacks maybe before you go to a party, or if you're at the party. Stay away from the food table. If you stand by the food table, you're going to stand there and eat it all. So just, go in the other room, or go outside, or go on the patio or another place people are socializing, and don't even go to the food table. Are there apps for weight loss? There are so many. These are just some of them. There are so many. Many of them are free. Many of them are pretty good. So get one, try one, see how you like it. It's really fun. Weight loss strategies, more of them. So, reasonable expectations. So, healthy weight loss is, I'm going to write this one down because it is important. Healthy weight loss, wow, the pen does not write in the black. 1/2 to 2 pounds per week. So we are not on the biggest loser here. We are not trying to drop 14, 20 pounds a week. Not even trying to drop 5 pounds a week. 1/2 to 2 pounds a week. That means you could be losing weight. Say you're using 1/2 pound. You could stand on the scale and it might not even show that first week, but maybe it will the next week. Gradual weight loss is much better because gradual weight loss doesn't shock your body into going into starvation mode. It allows it to kind of gradually move away from that set point. And if you're losing weight gradually, that means you haven't made any drastic calorie deficits. And that's probably more sustainable than going on like a crash diet where all of a sudden you cut out like 1,000 calories a day. This picture here is the idea of volumetrics. And the idea with volumetrics is you can eat foods that are low in calories, high in water and fiber, and fill you up. Or you can eat foods that are high in calories but low in volume and don't fill you up. So for 400 calories, you can fill your stomach with veggies, make it about, 1/3 full of chicken, or 10% full of oil. So what would you pick to make you feel more full? Reasonable calorie intakes, again, you do not want to drop them drastically. So you might want to cut back about 500 calories a day. I would say that would be a pretty good max. Looking at energy dense foods. So, what can you choose if your diet is 1,575 calories? This is what you can choose. So, it looks like breakfast. You could have a cinnamon roll, and I don't know what this is, grape juice or something. Lunch, you can have hamburger, half a hamburger, fries, some chips. And then dinner, you can have a little bowl of pasta with cream sauce, really high in calories, and a little bit of bread. So this meal is loaded in fat. And remember that fat has 9 calories per gram. This meal, however, is loaded in fiber. It's loaded in whole grains. It's loaded in low fat or fat-free dairy, and it's loaded in water because all these fruits and veggies are packed with water. And look at all this food you could eat. So for breakfast, you could have a big bowl of cereal, whole grain cereal, a yogurt, a half of a cantaloupe, milk, orange juice. I don't know if this is grape juice or what, but you could have it. For lunch, you could have, wow, I don't even know what to choose. You could have this big sandwich with this big veggie tray. For snack, maybe you're going to have some coleslaw, maybe you're going to have some soup, and then dinner, maybe you're going to have like a pasta salad with veggies and a side salad. And this looks like this might be some raspberries or raisins, something else. So that, to me, that would make me so full. Flexibility. So this is kind of a checklist to check when you are making a diet. This is a way to assess, is your diet, healthy? Is your diet sound? Is your diet reasonable? So you could look through these on your own. Weight maintenance. Keys for long-term success. Vigorous exercise. I would argue that it does not have to be vigorous. You don't have to be panting or completely out of breath, but it does have to be consistent. Every day you're going to walk. Every day you're going to jog. Every day you're going to ride your bike. Every day you're going to swim. There are many people who are physically unable to do vigorous exercise, but have still successfully lost weight. Careful eating patterns, self-monitoring with, a food journal or a food goal, food app, an app, not a goal. Reasonable goals. So we know healthy weight loss, 0.5 pound to 2 pounds a month. Maybe you say, I want to lose 2 pounds a month. At the end of 6 months, I'm going to lose 12 pounds. That's pretty good. Staying accountable. So checking in with yourself or a friend or writing things down. Problems with losing weight. Like I said, your metabolism could slow down, making it more difficult. And so somebody who has lost weight actually has to exercise more and eat less calories than somebody at that same weight who has never been obese before. It's really not fair. And then strategies of people who have been successful with weight loss. They eat a low-calorie diet, small frequent meals. They follow diets that are high in nutrients and low in energy density. They eat breakfast. They're physically active. They monitor their weight. They limit television time. And they consult a dietitian or a support group. Label reading can help. So you're at the store, you want a yogurt, you just grab one. Well, if you grabbed this low-fat one, good for you. You've got 100 calories, 3 grams protein, 17 grams carb, 2 grams of fat. Not too bad, 100 calories. If you grab this premium one, which premium usually means like full fat, you get 270 calories, 17 grams of fat, a little bit more protein, a lot more carbs. But I don't think for these 2 grams extra of protein or even the small amount more calcium or vitamin A it was worth that extra 170 calories. So comparing labels can really help. Exercising and prevention. Being active, drinking water instead of soda. So many people are getting their calories from liquid calories. And remember, weight maintenance, preventing weight gain is so much easier than gaining weight and then trying to lose it later. Controlling hunger. So when you eat, stop, think. Am I hungry? Why am I eating? Do I feel sad? Do I feel excited? Why am I eating this food? If you're not hungry, maybe stop or say, you know what, I'm going to wait 20 minutes before I eat that and then see if I'm hungry. Because when we eat when we're not hungry, we kind of throw off our body's internal cues to moderate appetite and moderate our energy needs. And this can lead to weight gain. Also, eat slowly. It can take our stomach about 20 minutes to register that we are full. But if you eat really fast, and I am very guilty of this, especially now that I have my child, I try to eat fast before he starts crying. But if you eat really fast, you might be done with your lunch or dinner and you might not feel full and go get something else because your stomach hasn't registered yet. Seeking help. So these are people and places that you can go to seek help, and many of these are very effective. Places where you have to buy a food, meaning you have to like have a meal delivered or only buy like certain brand foods, I don't think are so effective, because in order to sustain that weight, you would have to get those foods, get those meals for the rest of your life. That doesn't teach you too many skills about cooking or shopping conscientiously, etc. So physical activity, what do you think? I hope you think this is good by now. This is good for not just weight, but mood, immune system, respiratory system, so many things. What activity is best? Whatever activity you like and whatever activity you will do is the best. Recommendations, 150 minutes per week of moderate exercise. And if it's more than that or more vigorous than that, even better. Very low calorie diets. So some people do believe in very low calorie diets, and in general, going on a very low calorie diet would be a medically supervised diet. This would be dangerous to do on your own. And there are many health risks, even if it is medically supervised. However, for some people, say they have tried everything else and nothing's working, this might be, one of the last resorts that they try. There is a diet called OptiFast. It's usually liquid. It has 400 to 800 calories per day. It has a pretty low amount of carbs, 30 to 120 grams, no fat, and the rest is protein. So it does try to spare your lean muscle mass, but it's possible for people to experience ketosis and then a loss of appetite. Other treatments for obesity. So there are prescription drugs out there. There's one called Orlistat, which blocks fat digestion and absorption. And there's one called phentermine, which suppresses appetite. And there's also surgery. Orlistat, because it blocks fat absorption and digestion, any fat that you eat passes through your intestinal tract unabsorbed. So what this means is really, really nasty side effects if you eat too much fat. So how this drug works is, one, really nasty side effects cause a behavior change. You're not going to want to eat that fat if it gives you really nasty side effects. And two, when you do eat that fat, you don't absorb as much, so you don't get the calories. The side effects are like excess gas, diarrhea, oily stools. So literally like oil floating in the toilet. This oil is like bright orange, yellow in color. And it stains your clothes. So if you are farting or pooping and something leaks out, sorry, this is a horrible conversation, it stains your clothes. Anyways, the point I'm trying to get at is horrible side effects of this drug. And so it changes behavior pretty rapidly. Or people just say, I hate this, I'm not going to take the drug. Surgery. There are many types of gastric surgery, and surgery is effective in some ways. 10 years after surgery, the average person has lost 14 to 25% of their body weight. So there are some pretty effective results from surgery, and there's about 200,000 surgeries performed a year. Sometimes insurance will pay for surgery if the person is at other medical risk. And sometimes people have elective surgeries where they have to pay out of pocket or by themselves. So Here you can see a few different types of surgeries shown, and then you can also see the gastric band, which is in the top right corner, the lap band. And this lap band is like a belt that's put around the top of your stomach, and that belt is tightened, so it forms a small little pouch for food. And the tightness of that belt can be adjusted if the stomach stretches. Some of these gastric surgeries can cause malabsorption of nutrients, and if not monitored, can be pretty dangerous. Underweight. So underweight is a BMI below 18.5, and we don't have nearly the problem with underweight as we do with overweight in the United States. However, there are still many causes to it, and it is still potentially an issue if it's impacting health. You can see this poor little boy is underweight. You can see his spinal cord, his ribs, his backbones, his shoulder bones. And it's important for him to have enough weight because he's growing. If somebody has always been lean or petite, but they're otherwise healthy, it's okay if their BMI is not exactly 18.5 or older. And if somebody is healthy at their current weight, there's no reason for them to try to lose weight. So people who are growing, children, pregnant women, anybody who's sick absolutely needs adequate weight. How could you help them gain weight if they were underweight? These are some suggestions here. So high-calorie snacks. I've got trail mix pictured because I think people think trail mix is healthy. And it's not that it's unhealthy, but it is loaded in calories. So for a small handful of trail mix, it could be 150 to 200 calories. Popular diets and fad diets. I'm going to let you guys read about this on your own. How to recognize unreliable diets. There are a lot of diets out there. Just search diet for weight loss, and I'm sure you'll get thousands of hits. So evaluating diets for reliability is really important, and consumers can be kind of targets for, diets that promise quick cures or quick weight loss, or, no work needed, no exercise needed, no permanent change. And that's because people want to lose weight and they want to do it the easy way. But there is no easy way to lose weight. That's the bottom line. If you think it's going to be easy, it's not. But if you're willing to commit to the process, you absolutely can maintain weight and lose weight. So don't fall for these diets that promise you, tens of pounds lost by next week. They're unhealthy, they're dangerous, they're a waste of your money. All right, so we're at the end. We've talked a lot about weight today, and hopefully you've realized that losing weight is tricky. Gaining weight is pretty easy. Maintaining weight is healthy, can be healthy. So at the very least, if you are overweight, try to maintain your weight. Try to not gain any more. If you can try to lose weight, great. If you're at underweight, definitely don't try to lose weight. And then think about all of the health implications I talked about with overweight and over body fat. And, think about those as reasons why losing weight is way more about body image than it is about being healthy. Even if you maintained your weight and gained muscle, that would be beneficial too. So hope you enjoyed the lecture. I know it was pretty long, but so much to talk about. So thank you, and I will see you next time.